Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I need to start making some more videos. I didn't release anything this past Friday because usually I try to do them in big sections, do 4, 5, or 6 and then edit them and put them up. And I had built up a buffer over time and it ended up such that all the videos that I had published were finally released. And Thursday night I sat there and I went, maybe I should at least get one up so I keep the trend going. And I said no, decided not to. And it's not for a lack of material, just timing. And yeah, so that was like the first time I had actually missed one of my goal dates of just Tuesday and Friday. And so I'm going to start recording more again and hopefully get some quality stuff up there. One of the reasons I also didn't do a video, just kind of bashed one out on Thursday night, is because we kind of knew, well, my wife and I knew what we were going to be doing on Friday, which was we had to say goodbye to one of our cats, Tweak, which I will post a picture of right now. Tweak was a wonderful cat, over 16 years old, and we just by happenstance got him right when my wife was pregnant with our first kid. And we already had 2 cats, but we didn't really were looking for a third. Just he kind of showed up. I think he showed up at a local school nearby, at the elementary school that my wife works at part-time. And somebody in the neighborhood just said, hey, if you want them, you can have them. And I remember coming home, my wife was being really secretive about it. And I went into the room where we had separated Tweak, which was going to be, it's now my younger son's room. It was my older son's baby room. And I remember walking in and I couldn't tell what was going on. And then I saw Tweak, he was sitting on the rocking chair that we had purchased. And I came in, I was like, oh, we have a new kitty. And he saw me and he woke up and he started meowing, and I picked him up and I put him on my lap and he just purred and purred and purred. He was so happy. And funnily enough, I originally said, he's a great cat, but we can't have 3. That just, I don't think that's going to work out really well. So we returned him. And then the day later, I got really emotional and I said, okay, I made a big mistake. I think he's probably a really good fit for our family. So can we see if we can get him back? And fortunately, nobody had picked him up. So we got him back from the neighbor, and he was with us for 16 years. He was a wonderful cat, very friendly, very nice to people, just very laid back, wasn't, except to the vet. He did not like vets. He really did not like vets. But other than that, he was just a great, great cat. And we noticed about a week or 2 ago that he was starting to be very lethargic and was having a hard time eating and cleaning himself. And he ended up having a tumor in his mouth. And it was just getting worse and worse. And so we said, this isn't good. And so we finally decided to say goodbye to him. So if you're a pet owner, you know what that's like. That was tough, but I think I took solace in the fact that we had him for so long, and he was such a good part of our family, and it was the right thing to do to let him go, and yeah. So that made Friday a little hard. Another thing I've been noticing, speaking of videos, that's been really interesting is, for some reason, this video that I made of Markiplier destroying his horse in Red Dead Redemption 2 has, for me, taken off. It is up to, I think, 60,000 plus views right now. And I don't know where, how, or why. I've seen more comments come through, and now I'm up to almost 100 and, I got to check my notes over here on the side, 187 subscribers, which for me is, this channel is not very exciting. I will admit, this is not something that I find I find interesting, and I enjoy doing these, but I also understand that this is not something that probably a lot of people would gravitate towards. So yeah, I was a little shocked in seeing all these people subscribing. And I would just like to say to everybody, if they do, that's not normal. The stuff that I talk about with coding, and maybe I'll do some reviews now and then, that's pretty much the gist of what I do. I'm actually thinking of doing another Markiplier video. But that one and the Red Dead Redemption 2 and the Alien Isolation one that I did of him, that took a lot of time. It took a lot more time than I thought. And this next idea that I have is going to take time too to put it all together. But, you know, it's fun doing those things. And I just, for some reason, I find, like, especially the Red Dead Redemption one, the number of times he destroys the horse that he's riding on, it's just ridiculous. So it leads for good fodder. Anyway, I sort of apologize to anybody who's subscribed to my channel, because what you're seeing on the screen right now is pretty much what you get. And that's probably not as exciting as watching somebody steer a horse into a tree or off a cliff, though that's kind of funny. So what am I going to talk about today and in some other videos coming up? I keep talking about this project that I'm going to eventually hit, and it's on my list over here. I'm going to start working on it, but of course things just keep coming up and I get distracted and have to do those and blah, blah, blah. So the thing I'm going to be working on right now is finalizing a issue that I had in that I have in InlineMapper. And let me actually go. This is issue 20. So hold on. Here we are. So this is supporting custom constructors, and it came up because of records, that you can do this syntax with records, and that ends up making a constructor for you that takes arguments, and then those are set to the properties. Well, the problem with this is that the way inline mapping was working before is that it wouldn't know how to do this. In fact, it would give a diagnostic saying, I can't create an instance of the destination. The source doesn't matter because you already have the source. It's making the destination. So I said, well, it feels a little weird to support this, because in this case, setting the ID and the name is setting the properties as well. So you're not going to do anything to actually map them. And actually, one of the things I thought of here is this starts going down kind of a rabbit hole in a way if I let it. Because if I have the case where I have an object that takes ID and name, takes them on construction, and then just sets the property values, whether via an and init or whatever, now I've got a source and a destination with two properties, ID and name, GUID and string. And now am I going to reset them again? That feels a little squirrely, but the only way I'd be able to figure out if by calling the constructor is also setting the properties is if I went in and did some analysis on what the constructor is doing. And that can lead to a whole bag of worms that I don't want to do. So I said to myself, okay, all I'm going to do in this case is search for accessible constructors. And for each accessible constructor, I'm going to make a map to XYZ method with the available arguments. And then it will in turn pass those into the destination, which I think I'm doing. Hold on just one second. I just realized, so I got to come back to this and do testing on it. But the mapping builder, yeah. Let me see here. So this is, I think, because I split this into a separate built map extension method. Yes. So say this at source public set. Yeah. Ooh, I don't even do that. See, this is good that I talked this through, because I'm passing in all of the arguments. And what I need to do here is say new destination name, but then pass in all the values that you could possibly be giving me. So I got two things I need to do. I'm going to put these over here. Finalize the issue in inline mapping. Where is my mouse? Where is my mouse? Finalize it and pass in the parameters to the constructor. Moron. That's to me. You didn't see that text over there. But yeah, I got to actually take all these parameters that are going into the constructor. And I think this won't be too hard to do. I'll just need to say something like here, say new. Like either I say if there are no arguments to the constructor, then I just do this. Else I'm going to do new destination name parentheses. and then passing in on a comma separated list via string join all the names of the parameters. In fact, I'm going to do that first now. And I usually don't have a window doc like this, but it's because there was 3 tests left that are failing and I got to go back and fix them, and you'll see why in a moment. I think I have the comment here. Yes, I do. Okay, so we're going to come back down here and we're going to say if, so we got, those are the parameters, and I have to include the this for the extension method. So I'm going to say if constructor parameters dot length is greater than we'll say equal to 0. Okay, because in most cases with this, I'm guessing you're probably using DTOs, POCOs, whatever you want to call them, and so you probably don't have a constructor that takes arguments. Great, Visual Studio's taking forever. Hold on. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That I wasn't getting the, like, OBS was spinning forever. I don't have it on this screen. I'm just going to use this screen to keep notes on and stuff like that. But I decided to keep it on this screen. I think maybe that will help, but then I can't see if it's saying overload or whatever. Anyway, okay, so we have this here. Else, what we want to do is this, except we want to put in parentheses string.join by a comma parameters, no, not, yeah, that, yes, constructor dot parameters select name. Yep, and there we go. Because I'm going to be putting them in the same order that they're coming in from the constructor, so it should work in this case. Pretty sure. Okay, so what am I missing here? So I got select. I then do that. Oh, and then I need this. Oh, okay. Let's put this on the next line. At least that all fits. And then we can actually do the object initialization after that. I believe that's correct syntax. Of course, if it's not, we're going to find out. Okay. Now, coming back up here to the to-do, wherever my phone buzzed, I don't know why, but it did. So we're going to come back up here and say, need to break out the 2 if and else if conditions, because we need to do the check. We're adding the namespace. I'm like reading the text. This is why I tell people when you're doing presentations, don't put up a whole wall of text on your slide, because then you're reading it. People are, you're speaking it as you're reading it. They're reading it. It's like, no, you rarely, if ever, want to put a lot of text up on a slide. But anyway, that was a random thought I just had. So to namespaces only based on the first condition. So I kind of, like I said to myself when I was working on this, I was going to leave this, write a good to-do, and I come back to this and I read the to-do and I'm like, I didn't write that very well. But I think the problem is so back up a second. When I added the support to do custom constructor parameters, the types of those parameters may require me to put a using statement into the generated code, may or may not. And then it also is like, well, if you're in a namespace and you can also now specify what namespace you want to put the generated code in. It's funny how this just starts to domino effect itself and lead to all sorts of other conditions. I'm just thinking of one literally right now where I say, well, what happens in one place you say you want to do the mapping where the namespace should be the source, but then in another case it should be the destination. And I don't know if I'm handling all these cases correctly, but I don't know. It's a Sunday. We're going to try to do the best I can. So the thing that I'm trying to do here is say, okay, what you want to do is specify that the namespace is source. Okay. So the next thing you want to do is say, okay, well, if the source isn't a global namespace and it does not contain the destination namespace. So like you could have system, but you have a namespace of system.io. Well, then you actually just, it works that you can bring in all the things from system. Okay. So I think the thing I'm trying to say here is this case should be there and say and. So if you're not a global namespace, wait, let me think about this for a second, because I want to put the destination namespace in there. Well, I need to put it in there if it's, let me think about this for a second. The pause look. I'm going to put it, the namespaces is actually a thing that I'm passing around so that I know which using statements I want to put at the top of the code. Okay. So I'm saying I want to put in the source namespace here, but do I include the destinations namespace for using? And the only reason I would do this is if it is in the global namespace, or, and of course, I've said this before, my ORing conditions, my Boolean logic is usually never right. So if the source is in the global namespace, then we obviously need to include and this namespace gatherer is something that basically does it as a hash set. So if I keep adding it multiple times, it only has it in there once. By the way, there's something on my list where I'm going to start creating a project. That's one of the things I'm going to do in a future episode, where I can start putting these things that I'm using in source generators, analyzers, and all this stuff into a common project and share that as a NuGet package. But we'll get to that later. Okay. So source is in a global namespace, and yes, we obviously need to put the destination namespace there. Or the source containing namespace does not contain, which is an extension method I made, the destinations namespace. Okay. Now, do we create this? We only create this if the source is not in the global namespace. Okay. This is going to get trickier because I believe down below I've got to do, this stuff and Okay, I'm going to check that logic again, but I kind of have something down there already. So now we want to take this off because the first thing we want to determine is, well, if it's the source namespace, do we put the destinations namespace in the usings, and do we actually omit the namespace? Because you can't do, if it's global, it wouldn't work. So now the same thing here. If I take this off and now I say here, if the destination, and we'll do or and pull that down and do that. Okay. So now we're saying we need the sources namespace in the usings, and we also want to check to say if it's not. Apparently that's going to be a thing in C#10 where you can put in double bangs on a parameter to a method, and it will automatically emit an argument null check for you on that parameter. If it's, and I would assume it will only work with reference types, value types, non-nullable value types. It would probably say, no, you can't do that because it will always be not null. But anyway, apparently the double bang is good. I thought it was going to be a single bang, but anyway. Okay. And then if we say we want our code to be in a global namespace, which means we don't even put it in a namespace, then we're automatically going to put in these. But I think I said, I have something in here to say for both a namespace symbol and a type that only if it's not a global namespace will I actually put it in there. So you can just call it and not really worry about it. Okay. So I guess you could argue and say that for these, I don't really need to check these types. And I think I say here, get name contains other get name. Yeah, so this is one of these things now. Do I actually put the if check here? Because if it is a global namespace, it's a simple bool, and then I don't have to go through all the logic here. And it's not it's the other one. Yeah, so that's not a real optimization. Okay, so that's fine. Then we build a type. We so building the type will also build all the map extension methods for all the constructors. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so build that, and then we come back down here and say if the kind is not a global, then only if the kind is source and the source is not, because that meant that we either put the source namespace in there or we did the destination namespace. So we need to back up and put a closing parentheses there. So that should work now. Now, I don't think this is going to necessarily fix the tests, But what I do think this will do is it's technically correct. And then we're going to do some integration tests to see if this works the way I want it to. Okay. And again, I don't care what the constructor does. You know, I don't want to care. I just want to know that you actually are putting in the arguments of the extension method so I can pass them in. So let's see what the test explorer takes forever. My God, I don't know. And I've noticed other people have complained about it on Twitter and other places. It's like it just seems so slow at times. So let's see if this fixes the 3 that we had. Well, 2 went away, and they all went away. Okay, good. Well, and I've noticed this is 1610, and I've noticed that it seems to potentially do some better reloading with integration tests. I'm not sure, but what I'm going to do here is just try something. I'm going to say we're going to do, because again, I don't care what the constructor does. I just want to make sure it's picking up the things that it should. I want to say with custom constructor. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to say here that this is a public, which takes a string of an A and a GUID of a B. And that's it. And we don't care what this does. Come on. We don't care what this does, system. There. Okay. Now it's barking because it's saying, well, you're not using these, but yeah, I'm just going to ignore that. Okay. And now I'm going to have a test here that says map with custom constructor. Okay. So I got the source from map from. Now what I want is, yeah, with custom constructor, did it do the right thing? It has a string A and a string B. So I'm going to say A and GUID, new GUID. And all that works. Right? And it's just that simple. It's just that simple. I'm glad it actually worked. I mean, it picked up the right code and everything. So I am going to shut this down and start it up because I am paranoid. But it's a test. And it's got a green check. So let's do the other ones. The map from. We'll do the map to. So again, this is for map to with, what are we calling this? With custom constructor. Okay. And then we're going to have public, if I could spell, public string A, string A, GUID B, that. And then we're going to use system. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to have a test here. Map with custom constructor. Now, this is a map to. This is a map from. Because we're saying map from. Okay. So we need to now say map to here. And that should actually with custom constructor. Okay. And so now we should have a custom constructor, A, and a GUID new. GUID because we don't care. Run all the tests and see what works. Are you doing it? Are you doing something? Maybe what they should have down the lower left is just like a little bar that like gives you an indicator as to how instead of having that whole UI on the left there, just something on the bottom that gives you an indicator. Okay. So now we did map from map to, now we're just going to do map tests. So we want a public destination for map with custom constructor. And then we want that, and we want public that, and we want string A and GUID B that using system. And then we're going to put up here another one of these. And destination for map with, yeah, that's the one we want. Okay. I mean, we can use any of them. It doesn't really matter. Map with custom constructor. Okay, there we go. A GUID, new GUID, and probably won't work. I just want to see what this code looks like. So I've got source for map extensions. Does this there, source for map. And since it has the right namespace, it's got that string. Don't like the name of that type. I don't like it. It works, but I don't like it. So I'm going to have to, I want like the C# version of the name. And I must have solved this in rocks. So yeah, maybe I'll do that in the beginning of the next episode. So put that in as a note here. Where is there was like this joke about if you've got multiple monitors, like where is your cursor for your mouse? And there's like this thing from Star Wars where he says like, no, not Star Wars. I'm sorry, Jurassic Park. Like stay perfectly still. It's, it'll pick you up based on movement or something like that. And that's why I feel like the mouse cursor is at times. It's like, where did it go? Okay, so here it's emitting string, not string. Probably need a different get name, and check out rocks for that. Okay. All right. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to start another episode and I'm going to put that change in, and then I'm going to work on a new sample project, but I'm basically taking all of these ideas that I've had in the past for analyzers and try to consolidate them onto one project. And I'm also doing this because I want to put in one analyzer, at least to start for now, because I'm doing a presentation on Friday on analyzing code, and I want a new analyzer, and so I'm going to be building that one. So that'll be hopefully in the next episode. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.